Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast, The Joyful Frugalista, and now here's your host, Serina Bird.
This podcast is brought to you by The Joyful Fashionista, an online marketplace for buying and selling second-hand and sustainable clothing. Make cash selling as you declutter or buy sustainable and fabulous fashion. Yuma Frugalistas, and welcome. Today I have a very special guest, and spoiler alert, that's me. Well, at least I'm one half of it. I've convinced my lovely husband, Neil, who is always very involved with my podcast because he's the editor, but not so much in a talking role. But I've invited him on again. Welcome, Neil.
Welcome, Serina.
Gee, I don't know you very well, do I? Anyway, It's lovely to have you here. But why I've invited him on to talk again is because we're still recounting stories from our recent trip to the US. We went to Orlando, Florida to attend FinCon. And I wrote a blog post when I was over there about timeshare, and we really just wanted to talk a little bit more about this, about our experience.
Yeah, so we booked a Grand Beach by Diamond Resorts through Qantas Frequent Flyer Points on the Qantas app. There was no notification on what it was about. It just looked like a place that had a kitchen and bed and looked very good value. So we went along with it and chose it for our first 8 nights over in the US.
But sometime last year, and it may have been after we'd made this booking, because you said you tried to search for this accommodation. It was no longer on the Qantas website.
Yeah, it had moved away.
It had moved away.
But since then it's been bought out by Hilton too.
So since then, Hilton has bought the entire Diamond chain. I forget exactly how many, but there's a lot of resorts. It's like 80 or something.
Yeah,
I've got the details in my blog post. So Hilton had, I think, about 60, and then it's bought a number of these Diamond ones, and it's in the process of renovating them all to bring them up to their standards. So we didn't realise when we booked it that it was part of this Hilton resorts. And not just that, but Hilton now has sort of realised that, okay, its hotels are fine, but most people when they vacation sort of want a different style of accommodation. They
want a home away from home.
Yeah, basically. They want kitchen and they want apartments and they want to feel connected to it. They don't just want to be locked up in a hotel room.
No.
And they've realised now that this is big business, this timeshare. And why I really wanted to talk about timeshare on this podcast and why I've blogged about it as well is because I could see from being there that this was a global trend. From traveling around Florida, like even when we were at Miami Beach, the really posh, the really nice resorts, they were all like vacation clubs. They were either Hilton or they were Marriott.
There was a Holiday Inn one as well.
And there's a Holiday Inn one around the corner from Disney World as well. So you've got 3 of the main groups. So Hilton, Marriott and IHG are all really big in this timeshare model now. And it's relatively small in Australia, but it's big globally, including in Asia. And so I can just see that in a couple of years, this timeshare experience isn't just going to be something that happens if you go on holidays in Florida. It'll be any time you stay in one of the resorts that is linked to these.
Yeah, so on arrival, we did our normal check-in.
8:30 at night, like we're tired, hot, jet lagged, just want to find our room.
Yeah, they give us our cards or whatever. I'll just go talk to, I can't remember his name, Eric or whatever it was over at the concierge counter there. And
he seemed like a friendly guy.
Yeah,
he was surrounded by, all these brochures of tourist things. And we thought, they're just being really friendly. They're giving us all these tourist brochure stuff.
Yeah, extremely friendly, that thing. And he said, someone will contact you tomorrow and talk to you about an opportunity sort of thing. Yeah.
And we didn't say, oh, yeah, that sounds great. In fact, we did the Aussie thing of being polite and non-committal. At no point did either of us say, yes, we would be delighted to go to a timeshare presentation.
Yeah. In fact, when next day there was a phone call.
To our room. And this bloke said, do you want to come down and have a chat about something? And it was weird, actually, because, firstly, who rings the phone? And it's like, have they been watching you? Because we just came back to the room, or have they been calling the whole time? It was just...
It was weird.
It was a bit strange and weird and freaky, actually.
So I went down and had a chat with him. He was very friendly, tried to connect with me about some common Aussie things like Will Power, IndyCar racer and stuff. I'm not in IndyCar. And Just had no idea about Australians, but they were trying. He was trying very hard.
Very hard to connect.
Yeah. But he said, we've got this opportunity. Do you want me to make your booking to go and have a look at it? I said, I'm not into timeshare, mate. Oh, no, it's not timeshare.
Yeah, they're very, very keen on saying it's not the old model of timeshare.
Yeah. So I kind of knew that there was something like that because I actually saw some YouTube reviews of the Grand Beach, and I think it might have been TripAdvisor actually, and people saying, watch out for the timeshare trap and all that sort of stuff. But anyhow, we got conned into it, so we thought we'd go and have a look just to see what it was about.
And let's just backtrack on the conned into it. So you probably gathered Neil's the soft spot between the two of us. I'm a bit more of the tiger woman, I guess. I probably would have gone, no way. But anyway, it was fine in a way because I guess I was just kind of interested because I'm a money nerd, so I'm interested in how all this works.
They're just doing their job. That's probably how they make their money on commission. They're just doing
their job. But the thing is, when they rang up our apartment, they didn't just say, we've made a booking. They said, if you don't show up, we're going to deduct $50.
Yeah, from your credit card.
Yeah, and they've got your credit card details, so they can do that. And we're like, we didn't say we were going to do this. It's really weird.
Yeah. Anyway, we rocked up and we had to go, 5 minutes up the road to another Hilton resort.
Yeah, it was very swish. And I should add too that by this stage, we hadn't started FinCon yet. We were there to attend this conference for money creators called FinCon. So it's for money nerds. And I was in this mastermind group. So there's this group of us who were going to catch up, and we did catch up with some of them. And one of these ladies sent me a link to an article about all the things to be really wary of with timeshare. And she said, well, it's a 2-hour presentation, so it's $50 US. So if you think about it, it's going to cost you about $12.50 US per hour for you to be there. Is it worth your time and effort to be there?
What was $50 US?
Well, if we were being charged $50 US on our credit card, so that works out as $25 each.
Okay.
Yeah. And
so the thing was that if we went along, they'd give us a $250 Visa debit card. I think it was US dollars as well. And
a free trip somewhere.
Yeah. It was. So we went in, we drove through the boom gate, got let in. We didn't go to the concierge parking. We parked ourselves and walked in, which was a benefit, I think, because we weren't trapped there.
And I've heard stories of people that just have not been able to get out.
Not get their car. Yeah. And I kind of knew from that TripAdvisor report that there'd be something like that. So we walked in 10 minutes early or something like that. They told us to sit down, help ourselves to tea, coffee, soft drinks and some snacks. But it was pretty ordinary, really. It was
very ordinary. Like, it wasn't like Australia where you have like wine and cheese. And I've been told actually to be aware of when they serve you wine because it does cloud your judgment with these things.
Yeah.
But it was like donuts or something, sugary stuff.
Yeah,
Pop-Tarts.
muffins and Pop-Tarts and, weird stuff.
Yeah, and actually they were really paranoid now that I remember it about having our invitation that we had to hand over. It was something about making sure we had the right paperwork. Yeah. I don't know why they were so paranoid.
That's probably part of the commission thing, I reckon.
Yeah, they were really paranoid about that.
Yeah, so we sat down there and started talking to
another young couple who were there. Well, not another couple who were there that were younger than us. And he had some really interesting views on gun control. So
and some views about how close Australia was to China.
He was convinced we're all going to be invaded by China and we wouldn't be able to defend ourselves because we wouldn't be able to shoot to kill. Anyway,
I said it's a 10 to 12 hour flight. It's as far as Australia to LA almost.
Yeah, so that was very interesting. So it turned out he actually did own 4 firearms, and I was intrigued by the fact that his wife didn't say boo in the whole conversation.
But anyway, he practices with them, and she had to practice as well.
She looked remarkably less keen about the whole firearm situation, and I don't think she even wanted to be there at all.
That's just America.
So chatting with this other nice young couple, and there are a couple of other couples around, and then my strategic thinking at this point was that I'd sit at the back of a big auditorium and I'd just fall to sleep. But
yeah, I was just thinking it was just going to be this presentation, and then I didn't realise the second part of the timeshare sell would take on. So
there was a 3-pronged attack here. So the first part was there was a very attractive young lady,
effervescent, bit evangelical going on about
glamorous. She looked like a model.
Yeah.
And she led us into this room, and there was only, I think, about 8 of us, maybe 10.
Yeah.
Very small room, and had this very detailed
video
presentation. And I found the themes really interesting. Do you remember some of the themes of it?
Not really. I remember her talking about her mother dying of cancer or something, and the heartstring thing about you've got to live while you can and enjoy it and give up your work and holiday or something. Yeah,
that was the kind of clincher at the end.
Yeah.
Because her mum had always worked really hard and they never sort of got on holidays. And now her mum was dying of cancer, she kind of
has the best days of her life now.
Yeah. So it was all of this kind of family, you need this special time with them, that these memories are really worth it. And then they'd done some research that said that on average, Americans pay $150 per night for accommodation.
Yep.
And that they, I can't remember, was it 2 weeks or something?
So they get 2 weeks leave a year.
2 weeks leave a year.
Which is like the rest of us are in the world mainly have 3 or 4 weeks annual leave a year. So
shh, don't tell them that. They would have doubled the kind of price. But anyway, they worked out that on average Americans were spending $2,100 on accommodation. So what was really interesting was the liberal use of the words, since you're going to spend it anyways.
You might as well put it into this.
You may as well put it into this where you can get a much better quality experience. And they were, to be honest, really, really good quality experiences. The resorts that we were shown were like exceptional. They were very, very nice. So since you're going to be spending the money anyways and, you know, you value your family and this is what your priority is, you may as well spend it into a brand you can trust and into an experience that you can trust and buy it now because then it'll be inflation proof.
Yeah.
Is kind of
what they were saying, yes.
Kind of what they were saying. And, you know, to be honest, I was looking, even me, who's, you know, a bit of a frugalista and is happy at Holiday Inn Express or camping, they did look very nice, didn't they?
Yeah. Well, that was the second part of it, wasn't it, where we, you know, the big pretty cell at the beginning, and then we went for a walk around the resort with this guy. I can't remember his name.
I changed the names in the blog post, not that I said anything mean about anyone, but just to...
So they walked us through the facility, past the swimming pools, past some, what was it, there's a child daycare sort of centre and a library and all this sort of stuff.
Computer area.
And yes, sort of the facilities they had on site. And then we ended up at this room that was opened up for us. So it was like was it a single bedroom apartment?
It was like 2. So the idea was that like on one half it was like the parents were there.
Oh, they had like an interconnecting door or something.
Yeah, so like if it was only a couple, you could just have a small one. But if you had your kids, you could open it up.
But
so
yeah,
you could have half.
It was nice. It had a kitchen. It had everything you wanted, home away from home sort of thing. Yeah, no problems with that.
And there were clearly people hanging out by the pool. Like people looked happy, right? So I'm not saying that people looked like they were being ripped off and they weren't coming up to us and saying, oh, this is a bad deal. Get out now. Like it wasn't that vibe at all. Like it was really, really well done.
And then from there we made our way back up to the office, effectively up on the next floor up and sat in front of this guy with his computer and he's running through this and that. We're rehashing what was said in the presentation earlier.
Yeah, but once again, because you've got us one-on-one there and he's really trying to bond with us. He's trying to understand Australian culture. He's trying to be really helpful because he lives in Orlando, Florida, about where we should go and what we should see. Like really, really pulling all the stops to be
nice.
Now, I'm a little bit cynical about this because I remember at high school doing research about cults and some of these hallmarks are there, you know, like this one-on-one approach. Usually they'll match you with someone who you will really get on with and bond with.
And relate to
because it's that personal thing, like whether that you end up becoming friends later or not is another thing, but they sort of drag you in. And the fact you're isolated, like the fact that they usually want to park your car for you or go somewhere else. So it's not like you can just easily turn around and go.
Yeah, like to walk out, we had no idea. We're up a lift and different, yeah. Anyhow, we sat there for, I set a stop timer on my watch for an alarm to go off after 2 hours.
Because they said 2 hours.
Yeah.
And he was still talking.
Yeah. I said, well, we've got another appointment after this. We have to get going.
Yeah, I did the bad cop at this point. I said, I have a meeting. And they went, oh, gee, that's too bad. They should have told you that to allow more time. I was thinking, we've already been here 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, what time do you really need to be there? And I was like, well, this time, but then I've actually got to have lunch and I've got to go home and I've got to do this. And I was starting to feel a bit sorry for us at this point. And so he sort of then started to speak a bit more quickly.
Oh, let's rush this up, sort of, yeah.
And by this point, right?
We got to the numbers.
We've been there over 2 hours and we still hadn't talked about the numbers. And so this was the first time we actually got to the bit about what this means. So the key thing is, and I will just, because I've got the benefit of having blogged about it and remembering what I said, there are a few points on the numbers and the deal that's worth considering. One is they're very big on saying that they're no longer the old timeshare model, which used to be, you had some motel in the middle of nowhere and you had 1 week in January and you had to take that 1 week in January and only in that room and only that premise. Now it's all about points. So the points give you flexibility. But this is the problem. Like when you try and research it independently, there's no information on the website anyway about how these points, what they equal to. Like they gave us a few examples during the presentation.
And it depended on what season you're in. There's a high, a mid and a low, and you might get, for 5,000 points, you might get a room for 3 nights during high season. And that was that a 1-bedroom apartment or something? Then you could use less points if you went for a bed sitter type thing.
Yeah, studio apartment, you could get up to 21 off peak, or, on peak you could get like a small apartment for 3 to 4 nights.
Yeah.
And I should add too that I'm always a bit funny about these points model because that's basically like what casinos do, right? Like instead of using money, you suddenly got these chips and
they don't have real value.
You lose that concept of where the real value is. It suddenly becomes points.
So they were kind of saying that you'd spend $150 US a night anyway, and
anyways, as they say.
Yeah, and the thing, if you're a member, you don't pay resort fees, you don't pay taxes and stuff like that. So, but yeah, so the numbers were.
But you do pay maintenance, and when I ran my numbers, the maintenance, which was $889 US a year, and noting they'll probably go up, was actually more than the plan we were looking at. I should add too, there are about 5 or 6 levels of plans, and he was trying to push the medium plan of 17,000 points per year initially on us.
That was about $5,000, wasn't it, or something?
I'll get to the money because I've got it written down. Originally, he was looking at the medium one, and then he realised that we're not those sort of people. So he looked at the very, 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 very bottom one, which was only 5,000. But anyway, even on that, it would have been a $7,182 US dollars, which would have been a purchase price of $6,900 plus closing costs and other special fees, which was $242 US dollars and $40 US dollars. And that was a 10-year package. What was interesting about this is when he gave us the figures, he just highlighted the amount that you would pay for monthly repayments, which was just over $100.
There was something, because we weren't US citizens, we couldn't get a special interest rate or something as well.
Something. I don't know. But the interest rate that he quoted us was over 20%. It was 20.39%.
So that's like credit card rates.
That's like credit card rates. And that's like over 10 years. But you could pay extra to have a lifetime. So you could be like in this kind of deal for a lifetime.
So if you didn't have the ready cash, that's where it starts turning bad, I think.
That was at the moment where I went, oh, I get now why they're selling this, because initially I didn't quite get it. And especially when we went back to our apartment and I did a bit of research, because you could just book through like Booking or What If or a number of those other sites to stay at a number of these Hilton Grand Vacation resorts. In fact, the one we saw I had a look at because I was curious. And we were just in off-season in September, because the university, college and everything had just gone back, and it was just
summer
after
break
the
had just finished.
Union Day holiday. So a lot of people weren't vacationing there, and plus it was sort of hurricane season. So you could stay at that resort from anywhere between $93 to about $106, starting from, and then I guess apartments were more, US dollars a night. When I ran those figures through, it looked like it would be 70-something US dollars potentially, according to the points. So it would actually be cheaper.
Yeah. But then you've got this legacy of having to pay this maintenance fee every year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you might have spent the $7,000 up front and then $800, $900 every year. And then there was 2 schemes as well, wasn't there? There was one where it was for 10 years, or there was one where it was
a lifetime.
And you can
gift it to your children as part of your inheritance.
Yeah, and then they have to pay the maintenance fee.
Yeah. Don't know if they want it to have that kind of thing. I don't know how it works out.
Locking them in, that seemed a bit strange to me.
There were a few things that were quite strange. But I'll be honest and say it's a complicated thing, because like if going to a big luxury resort for a couple of weeks a year is your jam, this isn't actually a bad way to do it, because you are actually an owner in that you are part of it. And I could see that there was a lot of prestige for a lot of people, that they felt that they could have ownership of this. They had that kind of connection. They weren't just like guests in a hotel, that they were part of it.
Yeah. But for us, there would have been a double sting with international transactions and stuff. Would have been better off to go to a resort here in Australia. There's one on the Gold Coast, one in Melbourne or something, and see if we can do it in Aussie dollars here.
Yeah, exactly. And you actually had a really good observation, which is because Qantas Frequent Flyer and other points, like you can purchase those. You can purchase additional points.
You can purchase up to every 3 months up to a certain value of points with Qantas Frequent Flyers, and like 150,000 points cost you $3,000. So I think I only spent 80,000 points for the apartment for the 12 nights. So
if that was really your thing, and I mean, I don't know too, because some of that resort's now been removed from the Qantas website. So I don't know since this merger whether they're still on there. But, you know, there are a number of really high quality accommodation options that you can get through things like the Qantas website
and effectively
or other websites.
You're not getting hit with transaction fluctuations and charges, and it's digital currency.
Except for those resort fees.
Yeah.
They hit you with resort fees in the US. They're a little bit of a nasty surprise. We're talking in the last episode about how it was $150 US when we checked into our resort. And you told me to expect it, so we knew to expect it.
Yeah.
But most people don't.
And you don't know how much to expect.
Yeah. And then the other thing to consider is the lost opportunity cost of if you had invested that money instead of putting it in a holiday. And I did some sums because, of course, that's what I do. And I worked out that you could have almost double the returns if instead of investing in this scheme up front, plus then the annual
membership,
annual maintenance fees,
yep.
If instead of that you invested in ETFs, you would end up almost doubling your money, potentially. I mean, you don't really know what's going to happen with the share market or ETFs, but based on the historical price,
averages and
the average is looking like that would be a decent projection. And of course, that doesn't take into account things like taxes and inflation and a whole range of stuff. It's just a rough calculation. But, you know, it is important to think that when you are giving them your money up front, they then have that opportunity. So it's a way for them, in a way, to have like shareholders. So they've got more cash coming in so they can expand their business.
And they know that they've got this cash coming in every year too.
Yeah, they've got that commitment, which is so different than, say, a hotel booking where they don't know whether people are going to come or go.
Yeah.
Especially in times like COVID where things have been really disrupted. Like this is very, very sure for them. It's a guaranteed income stream.
Yeah. So it did pique our interest. It wasn't bad value.
I mean, there's some beautiful, beautiful accommodation options. And certainly when we were in the Art Deco precinct on Miami Beach having a look around.
There was one there, wasn't there?
There was a Hilton Grand Vacation. There was also a Marriott one. And both of them were beautiful. And I noticed because we'd just been to the timeshare. And I remember sort of thinking, well, you know, that wouldn't be too bad.
Yeah. But yeah, once we looked at all that and we had to think about it and whatever, we made our excuses and look, we've got to get going. We'll just go. We don't want your credit card deal. We don't want your holidays.
Oh, they couldn't believe that.
Yeah. We just want to get out of here.
They really, really couldn't believe that.
Yeah.
But they didn't let us get out the door quite so simple.
So he took us downstairs and said, wait here, and went and got a manager of some sort. And they tried to really push something on us and give us a free holiday anywhere around the world with flights and...
Well, actually, no, her deal was really interesting, actually, now that I remember. Because I said, we're not accepting anything free. And she was a lot less friendly, by the way. She was a lot like down to business because I'd said I needed to go. So she was like, you know, efficient, effective. So they tried a different strategy on us, I think. And she said, no, this is not free. You pay for this. But it was a very good value for, what was it, like a week's accommodation or something, or 10 days. They had like about 10 different resorts in the US, including one from memory in Honolulu.
Yeah.
And there was only these resorts, and she could give us these really good rates. And then I didn't quite fully understand, but I sort of got the impression that if we went on one of these and if we then signed up, that
it would be refunded somehow or something.
It was sort of we just wanted to get out the door, so we weren't fully pressing for information, because if we showed too much interest,
that's right.
They probably wouldn't let us go.
It was like $1,500 or something, wasn't it?
But it was really good value. It was really, really good value. And so they were sort of saying, well, are you going to come here again? Because I guess their assumption is you're there, you're at Disney World, you're going to come back again. They must get a lot of repeat visitors. And we're like, well, no, probably not, because it was like a 30-hour trip. So I don't think we're likely to come here again, and FinCon's not going to be here next year. That was the thing. Well, if you're here, are you going to come back again? Where else are you going to vacation to in the US? We can offer you this good deal. Yeah. And I'm sure if we took that up, we would have to go to another timeshare presentation, and then there would be something.
More pressure, yeah.
And there'd be more pressure. So at that point, we're like, nah. Almost out the door.
Yeah. Well, mate, we got out the door.
And literally someone was chasing after us.
Oh, you forgot your pass. You forgot your card or whatever it was. Yeah.
The free gift. Yeah. I think we had about 3 people running after us.
Yeah. It was like, no, don't want it. Bye.
I don't know. We must have been the first people ever not to get the free gift. They probably thought we were nuts, but...
No, didn't want to be tied into anything. And we haven't heard from them since, so I thought we would have had some emails or something coming in or...
Yeah, don't manifest that one into existence. We obviously weren't their ideal customer. We didn't accept the free gifts.
Yeah, we weren't greedy.
There's a reason we're sharing this in so much detail. One is because, actually, we were quite interested just to check it out and have a bit of a sticky beak to see what it was like. But it's just really important to be aware of these tactics, because you can't actually do a lot of research.
No, it's all pretty well hidden. You can go to the Grand Vacations website, whatever, but it doesn't
There's no real information.
There's no real information, yeah.
It's information on how beautiful the properties are, and they are genuinely beautiful. Like, I have no doubt about that they are well maintained. It is a good brand. It is a good experience. But you've just got to ask yourself, like we did, well, what...
Are we ever going to use it?
Well, I mean, what are holidays to us? Where do we go? We go skiing?
We go visiting friends down the coast. We go camping.
And I should add that our friends actually like us to visit. We're not like, freeloaders.
They're family, really.
We're close.
And then cruises, which I've introduced Serina to.
Yeah, enough on cruises. Oh, that was the other thing too. As part of this Hilton Grand Vacation HGV Club, you got discounts on cruises. So once we said we like cruises, then they went off on a tangent. Was it 10% off or something?
Something like that. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what lines it was with either.
Yeah, but you did, and you got like discounts off special events and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So like if you're the sort of person who maybe you're on a fat fire, and I mean that in terms of financial independence, retire early with style kind of path, and you're at that stage and money isn't a worry for you, it's not a bad thing in some ways. And you would certainly be made to feel special, like as an owner as part of this.
Yeah. Because they had resorts in Australia, in Asia, and in Europe and all over the place. So
yeah, I had a look. There was, because I go to Taiwan from time to time. We haven't been for a while, but there was one in Taipei and one on the Gold Coast. And I've got family on the Gold Coast. But you just got to ask yourself, are you actually going to use that? Is it going to really suit your lifestyle? Because it's a 10-year commitment.
Or longer.
Or lifetime.
Yeah.
So I think that's about it in terms of timeshare.
So in conclusion, it wasn't bad. It wasn't good. It didn't quite suit us, but it might suit someone else.
But just be aware of it and just think about, do you want to make that kind of long-term commitment?
And don't do it on hire purchase.
No, don't do it on hire purchase.
If you can't afford it, you can't afford it.
And have some strategies to try and get out of there quickly, because they'll keep you there all day if they can.
Yeah. So set an alarm. Don't let them park your car. What else was the other strategy?
Try not to be too interested in anything, because once you show interest, they'll really go for things.
Yeah.
So, they'll ask you questions about how you vacation and all that sort of stuff.
Just profiling you. Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't actually have to tell them your life story. So just don't really. They don't need to know everything about you. Just keep it very, very simple. And it's okay to say no. And it's really hard because you've got this guy or this woman there with you who's your new best friend who's super lovely.
They spend an hour and a half with you or whatever.
Yeah, and you feel bad about letting them down. But, they're in sales. That's their job.
Yeah.
You don't owe them anything.
No.
You can just walk out that door just like we did, and it's okay.
Well, let's wrap this up. Thank you for this discussion, Serina.
I think that was a bit of a hint. Thank you so much. If you really enjoyed this podcast, please join the Joyful Frugalista Facebook group to chat about this and other topics, and also share this with your friends and anyone else you feel has a need to know this information. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to The Joyful Frugalista with Serina Bird. And of course, sound has been by Neil Hadley.
You could talk, and I would listen. I would understand your mind. Oh, I long to be with you, walking toward the sea, and the times when I'm lonely, you could be the one to comfort me every day. I am thankful that our separate paths have crossed. Every night I lay my head down, I know I'll never feel so lost. What if we cross the river? We could start a brand new life with a house and a family. If you'd only be my wife, so I leave it to you now. You can tell me what you think. We could step to the altar. I could wake up to your face each day, and my promise